Hey guys, welcome to Motoroids. My name is Amit and this is the new Glamour X125cc motorcycle. Now the 125cc segment has been growing at a crazy pace and it is in fact the fastest growing segment in the mainstream Indian motorcycle market. Is this just another new motorcycle? Well, I don't think so. There are a lot of good things going for this motorcycle and I think with this motorcycle Hero have really hit the nail on the head. In this review, I'll start with the performance and a lot of things which have to do with the feel factor of the motorcycle, because in another walk around video, I have let you know all the features of this motorcycle. Of course, I'll cover all the features also in this review, but since we have already done a walk around, what we'll do is we'll talk about the performance and various things like fuel efficiency, in-gear speeds, etc. first. So let's get going with this. Now, the first thing that you need to know is that this engine here has a lot of things going for it. It gets a silent cam chain, it gets a balancer shaft, and most importantly, it gets an electronic throttle body which endorses it with ride-by-wire. So for a 125cc motorcycle, it gets ride-by-wire. So this throttle is completely ride-by-wire. Also, it gets a smart solenoid valve. So in terms of technology, this motorcycle really raises the bar for the segment, and by virtue of all of those things, what Hero has been able to do is that by mapping different maps on the ECU, there are three riding modes which have been given to this motorcycle. So you have an eco mode, you have a road mode, and you have a power mode. What basically happens is that while the speeds in every gear, including the top speed, is going to remain the same, the throttle response is going to be different for every single mode. And for example, in power mode, when you crack open the throttle, the motorcycle moves ahead with a lot more alacrity. As you crack open the throttle with a smaller ring, the acceleration is higher, as opposed to the eco mode, where even if you crack the throttle open completely wide, the movement is very little, and that of course has bearings on the fuel efficiency, but more on that later. In terms of its tractability, that's where this motorcycle really shines. And this is not a motorcycle which is a very sporty machine like Hero's very own Extreme 125R. That is on the other end of the spectrum and pointed squarely at the youth, at Gen Z. This motorcycle is a more mainstream motorcycle. It is going to appeal to some of the youth as well, but it primarily will be targeted at the everyday commuter who's also very progressive. In that sense, being able to ride it without any problem within the city is going to be very important, and in that sense this really offers fantastic tractability. Another great aspect is the absolute lack of any vibrations whatsoever. In recent times, I have not ridden a motorcycle which is as smooth as this one, especially in this segment. So the refinement and the smoothness of this motorcycle, even when you are at the red line, when the limiter cuts in, there is absolutely no vibration, any mentionable vibration on the handlebars or on the foot pegs or on the seat. So in that sense, it's a very refined, very torquey, very smooth motorcycle to ride. And that's one aspect that I was completely impressed with. Now, talking more about the tractability, in the fifth gear, you would be able to see this car pull cleanly from as low as 25 kilometers per hour. That's right. And in the fourth gear, it'll pull from 20 kilometers per hour. In the third gear, from as low as 15 kilometers per hour. And in the second gear, in fact, in all of these gears, second, the third, or fourth, if you just close the throttle, the motorcycle keeps going without stuttering to a stop. Although when you crack the throttle open, you'll have to keep it above 2,500 RPM for it to pull cleanly. Below 2000, it'll die down. But in second gear, even at speeds as low as 7 kilometers per hour, this motorcycle pulls along. So what I'm trying to say here is that along with the very light clutch, which makes easy work of driving in stop-start city traffic, along with some really clean shifts. It comes with a 5-speed gearbox, so the shifts are really clean, there are no false neutrals, and it runs really smoothly. So the tractability, the ease of use, all of that really makes this motorcycle fantastic to use within the city. The torque is amazing, and while the torque is great, this motorcycle by no means is meant to be hustled. This is not a sports motorcycle, although it has a decent dynamic ability, but it's not a motorcycle which is meant to go out corner carving, leaning yourself down and thinking that this is a proper sports machine. No, it's not. It's a commuter. And in that sense, now let me talk about the speeds in every gear for this motorcycle. So in the first gear, you'll see 28 kilometers per hour. In the second gear, you'll see 50 kilometers per hour. In the third gear, you'll see 77 kilometers per hour. Fourth gear will keep you just shy of 100 at 98 kilometers per hour, and the top speed will be achieved in the fifth gear, where I was able to see 107 kilometers per hour on the speedo. I'm a heavy rider, and on my way against the wind, I could not take it above 102, 103, but with some support from tailwinds, I was able to see 107 kilometers per hour. I think a lighter rider who can take it all the way to the rev limiter would be able to see up to 108, 9 also. But that's pretty much it. It's not going to cross 110 kilometers per hour for sure. So that is about the performance. In terms of handling, this motorcycle comes with a 30 dia front forks, and at the rear you have the twin shock setup. I really would have liked it to have a monoshock because that would have really given it better stability. But I think for the kind of segment that it is targeted at, people want twin shocks, what they call shock ups, and they think that it equates to strength and stability. And I think Hero wouldn't have wanted to fight with that perception. And in that sense, they have equipped this motorcycle with a 5-step preload adjustable rear shock absorber unit. These are twin units, and this is a very nicely set up unit. It's tuned more towards comfort, very slightly on the firmer side, but not stiff at all. Allows the motorcycle to ride at a very good stability even at high speeds. So I rode it in the softest but one setting. That's the least of the preloads, the fourth setting that is. And even at that setting, this felt slightly firm. But as soon as you load it up with a pillion rider, you do feel that it has become significantly softer. So while in the straight line, it feels slightly firm, especially for the everyday rider. The moment you take it on the twisties, I took it up to the twisties of the Nahargarh also. When you show it a set of twisties, the apparent lacunae in terms of its overall prowess as a handler come to the forefront, and you can feel the softness in the suspension, especially at the rear. The tires here are not very wide. You get a 100 section tire at the rear and an 80 section up front. Both the wheels are 18 inches, and when you lean the motorcycle, you do feel that it is asking for more traction, it is asking for more stiffness, it probably is asking for a little bit more stability. So I really understand that it is not the kind of motorcycle that is meant to be ridden hard like I was, but for everyday purposes, I think it has sufficient stability. But when you really want to be leaning it hard, I really think that it is left wanting for a little bit more stability and stiffness. The brakes here up front, you have a disc unit. You don't have ABS. It comes with a CBS unit. So when you press the rear brake, the front brakes are also applied. The brakes are adequate. I wouldn't say they are really sharp, but I think they are adequate. The tires are also about adequate. They could probably have done with grippier, wider tires, but for the economies that this segment requires, I think they have shot it with the tires that you see here. In the wet, the grip and the stability from the tires is a little bit suspect. For the conditions that I rode in today, dry conditions, I don't have much of a problem. Only when you really want to be leaning it hard, when you really want to be braking hard, you do feel that the tires are squealing, and under those scenarios the tires probably could have done a little bit better. It also does not come with an ABS system. I think that if Hero is marketing it as a technologically superior motorcycle, they could probably have given ABS at least as an option in the top of the line variant. So that is about the performance of this motorcycle. But for this segment, I understand that you would also want to know about what the fuel efficiency figures are. Now, the official ARAI numbers of this motorcycle's fuel efficiency have not been shared with us, but I did a little bit of testing, and on the highway in eco mode, which is supposed to give you the best fuel efficiency, if you ride at a steady 50-60 kilometers per hour, the fuel efficiency that you'll get is 65 to 66 kilometers to the liter. And in my humble opinion, that's the best fuel efficiency figure that you'll get, because if at 50-60 kilometers per hour steady, if that is the number, then if you're going to be riding at slower speed in stop start traffic, that number is only going to drop. Another great thing is that even if you're riding in, say, the road mode, at the same speeds, the fuel efficiency is not going to drop by much, because as long as your throttle is in the same position, you are doing the same speeds, it's not going to make much of a difference. It's only the difference in acceleration that will make you consume more fuel. So even if you're riding in a different mode at the same speeds, the fuel efficiency is going to be the same. But if you don't need that acceleration and if you're going to be riding within the city, it is really advisable to put the motorcycle in the eco mode. And the difference in the way the power is delivered in all three modes is very, very clear, very evident. And eco mode feels very feeble, road mode is acceptable, and power mode really makes you feel like you're riding a motorcycle with its entire power on tap. Power and torque figures, by the way, this motorcycle produces 11.4 bhp at 8,250 rpm, and the torque numbers are 10.5 newton meters, which is produced at 6,500 rpm. Now these are both very respectable numbers, and I have done a 0 to 60 test of this motorcycle, you can see. But having said that, I am a heavy rider, my weight is about 94 kgs, so a lighter rider would probably be able to extract a better acceleration number out of this motorcycle. Now, with the performance part out of the way, let's get to everything else which you would obviously want to know. So this is, as you can see, an all new design, and it looks very muscular. You have this really chunky shroud, tank shroud, which is a two-part unit, and you have this another block here, Glamour X branding here, and all of these color schemes that you see here are available on 4 colors. There is a fifth color, which is a silver, which is a matte silver, and it doesn't have any of this stickering. That is a solid color. So in terms of colors, you have 5. You have this black with red, you have a black with blue, you have a blue color, and then you have a red color along with the silver that I talked about. So those are the 5 colors that you have. Now in terms of, again, styling, you have this pinstriping on the wheels. The wheels are 18-inch units, and the fit finish, the color, the paint quality, all of that is acceptable. I don't think it's outstanding, but it's not bad, it's decent. A few things that I didn't like is the way these tapes show on some of the cabling, and all of this probably could have been done a little bit neater. The switchgear quality is good. As you can see, the headlamp here has this HDRL. You have this chrome element in the middle, and the sides of the H are in the form of a DRL. You have the headlamp with a completely LED unit. The blinkers are LEDs at the rear. Also, you have an H shape for the tail lamp, and the blinkers again are LEDs. This motorcycle also comes with a unique functionality where under emergency braking, if you brake hard, the hazard lights will glow up, and that's a signal to someone trailing you that there is something wrong and they should slow down. Now, a few other design elements which are functional too. This grab rail is quite wide. You have this Hero branding here, and it's very easy to slide your fingers under. So that's a very practical aspect. The fuel tank is 10 liters. So with the maximum fuel efficiency of 65 kilometers to the liter, you'll get 650 kilometers of range on the highway. And a few other elements, you have these perforations here, this chrome element on the side to lend it a little bit of an embellishment. The exhaust is covered with this chrome cap. The engine is all black, and this bit that you see here is an accessory. This is not standard fitment. Now, an important part of this motorcycle is that the kick that you see there is absent on a lot of other FI motorcycles. But what Hero have done is that they have provided this motorcycle a kick, and even when the battery is completely down, this kick would allow you to bring the motorcycle to life. Let's see how well that works. On in one kick. And that brings me to the exhaust note of this motorcycle, which is quite bassy for a 125cc motorcycle. Do let me know what you think. It feels quite grunty, and I like the bassiness of this. Now, if you look at me seated on this motorcycle, I'm 5 feet 10, and the seat height of this motorcycle is 790 mm. And for me, being 5'10", I have a bend in my knees and I can dig my heels in. So that means that it is accessible even for shorter riders, 5 feet 3, 5 feet 4. Shouldn't be a problem getting onto the motorcycle. The foot peg isn't very forward set, but it's reasonably forward. And as you can see, the rider triangle is such that you will sit upright. The handlebar here is quite wide. The width has been increased by 30 mm. So it's a wide kind of handlebar. It's not an open chested riding stance, but it is reasonably upright. The good thing is that you can distribute your weight onto the palms as well, onto your shoulders as well. So the entire weight is not onto your buttocks. So you can ride this motorcycle for long distances. And the seat padding also is pretty good. Another thing about the seat is that the seat has been elongated and the seat area for the pillion has been increased by about 10%. So not just is the seat long, it's a sloping seat, but it's not a two-step seat, not split, but slightly raised, and the cushioning is quite comfortable. I probably could have done with a little bit more width for the rider looking at the segment that this represents. But I think overall this is a comfortable motorcycle, and 100-150 kilometers without a brake should not be a problem on this specific motorcycle. Now, while the mirrors taper towards the end and they look quite sporty and elegant, they are very functional and they give you a very good view of what's coming from behind. The instrument console here is a highlight, and it is a completely new unit. It comes with a light sensor. So for example, right now you can see that it's quite bright, and if I cover the light sensor, you will see that it will go dull in a bit. Now it has become a little dull. So in the night it becomes slightly dull so that it doesn't bother your eyes. And as you can see, the telltale lights here include a neutral light, engine light, a side stand indicator, turn indicators, high beam, low beam, and a low fuel indicator as well. Now quickly let's run through all the features on this instrument console. So you have the tachometer here, which is marked at 9000 rpm for the red line, which is also the point where the limiter cuts in. You have the fuel gauge here. This is the mode, and these three buttons here will control everything on the instrument console. So the dedicated mode button will help you choose the mode: power, eco, or road. And this triangle button will help you cycle through all the information. So right now it's showing us trip B, which is showing 51.4 kilometers. And to reset it, you have to press the square button, long press the square button, and it will be set to 0. So press the triangle button again and you'll be given the average fuel efficiency of trip B. Then you have the I3S, which is stop start technology, which can be turned on or off by long pressing the square button again. And I have turned it on now. Go to the triangle again and it'll give you the instantaneous fuel efficiency. Then you'll get the overall average fuel efficiency. Then you'll get your available range, the date. You can set the time by coming here, and you also have the odo, and then you go back to the trip. You have this gear indicator here, which not only is a gear indicator but will also suggest the right gear to be in, and it will give you an up and down arrow for any given engine speeds and allow you to figure as to which gear is the right gear to be in. Of course, you have the speedo here as well, and you have this two-tone treatment given to the rim of the instrument console. You also have a type C USB socket here, and then you have the switch gear, which is of a decent quality, not the best that I've seen but not bad either. So you have this high and low beam and pass lever here. Then you have the turn indicator with the cancel button. These controls that I talked about earlier. Horn sounds like this. You have a dedicated hazard button, an engine start and kill button, and then you have the cruise control button here, which you can press to engage the speed and then set the speed. So this is the first motorcycle in its class to come with cruise control as well. And while I don't see much use of that feature unless you're riding on the highway, but that's a good feature to be offered at least. The ground clearance here is 170 mm, and while riding over a lot of bad surfaces, potholes and speed breakers, I did not find any problem at all. So it goes over bad surfaces rather well. And just to give it a sporty stance, they have also given this additional undercowl kind of a thingy. And I don't think it was required, but they have done it anyway. It's not going to last too long, I suspect. But anyway, it adds to the sporty visuals of the motorcycle. In terms of curb weight, the disc variant of this motorcycle weighs in at 127 kgs, and the drum variant comes at about 125 kgs. The price difference between the two is 10,000, and you'd wonder how just the disc or the drum would make for such a huge difference. Well, there are more differences as well, and while we have not been given an official documentation on the differences between the drum and the disc variant, from what we understand is that these LED blinkers will not be there on the drum variant. Also, from what we understand is that the cruise control feature will probably not be there, and a few features on the instrument console will also be missing. So in terms of features, I think the ride modes, the instrument console, the cruise control feature, and the bulbs are going to be the major differentiators between the drum and the disc variant. Although we don't have an official word on this, and we have not been able to see the differences in real life, so I cannot conclusively comment on that. But the differences are going to be more than just the disc and the drum. Of course, this also comes with Bluetooth connectivity, and it'll have the call, music, and turn button navigation through the app. And while I think the drum variant also will have Bluetooth connectivity, but a few features from the entire connectivity suite will be taken out for the drum variant. Now, apart from all of what I've told you, a lot of accessories will also be offered on this motorcycle. So, for example, this is an accessory. This is not a standard fitment. This windscreen can be had as a smaller unit, not as big. A smaller windscreen is available as an accessory. You can have a two-tone seat as an accessory. You can have a seat back put here as an accessory. You can also have a tire hugger as an accessory. So quite a lot of accessories are available, and you can go to the Hero dealership and find out about all of those accessories as well. In terms of the overall package, I think it's a fantastic package, especially if you're looking for a motorcycle which can do a little bit of both. It can ride at a decent speed. It has a good acceleration, comes with a lot of functionalities, riding modes, cruise control, very good connectivity suite. And if you want to ride it hard, you can do so in a straight line. It's not a very good corner cover. So if you're an enthusiast, someone who wants something sportier, then probably you can look at the Hornet or Honda's very own Extreme 125R. There are a couple of motorcycles which are sportier in their character. This motorcycle is not meant to be ridden very hard around corners, feels a little bit wallowy. But for everything else, for comfort, for reasonable performance, for fuel efficiency, for its looks, and for the fact that it carries in so much technology in terms of its ride-by-wire tech, the engine and everything else, it comes across as a very, very competent package. If I really had to nitpick, I would have wanted this motorcycle to have ABS at least as an option. Now, all of this is available for 90,000 rupees for the drum variant and 1 lakh rupees for the disc variant. And if you compare it with Hero's very own Extreme 125R, you'll have to pay about 3,000 rupees extra ex-showroom for that motorcycle. But in terms of practicality, in terms of functionality, I think this motorcycle has its own advantages, and it's no less in terms of the kind of tech that it packs in. So a very good package at a good price. And if you're someone who's looking for a do-all kind of a motorcycle in 125cc segment, I really think it's a fantastic, very impressive machine. I liked it a lot. Apart from the fact that it's not meant for out and out corner carving, it is a very competent, very well-rounded product, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. I really hope that I was able to answer all your questions in this detailed review. If you liked it, hit that like button. Follow Motoroids for such no-nonsense, in-depth reviews and other content. And until next time, this is your friend Amit Changani signing off. Rev hard, rev free, and ride safe.